So I'll repeat what's been said previously. We've had the complete cooperation of the juvenile court, the administration. Judge Callaway called me Saturday night. We talked. Yesterday, when I read the internal investigative report completed by the contract company, frankly, I had more questions than I had answers. So I contacted Judge Callaway this morning and asked, could we send a team over to do a thorough investigation so that we could find out exactly what did occur and what did not occur. So our major case task squad has made arrangements to do that thorough investigation, and Judge Callaway has been completely cooperative and welcomes the review. So without any questions.
Do you believe that there was any crime committed that you need to investigate, or why make the decision to
Well, I don't have any indication that a crime has been committed, that there was some overt act to assist in their escape, but certainly a lot of gross negligence. I'm not sure why that after 9 o'clock, when things are supposed to be secured, that you would find it an emergency to have a cleanup crew. I'm not sure why you would find probably the most dangerous 4 people in that facility to come do that. I'm not sure why that you would leave them unsupervised. I'm not sure why that they could give a command to one of the officers there to lower the elevator to the basement, an unsecured area. So there's just a lot of questions about what went on and why it went on that we need answered. And mostly that's for the future. That's so that the juvenile court can make some decisions about what to do in the future.
And when you hear that 911 call, whatever number he called, maybe it wasn't 911 first. To me, that's surprising just because of his role. What is your reaction when you hear that there was some uncertainty as to even what emergency number?
Well, I think that we go back to what was talked about earlier. There is a detailed protocol in their contract, and obviously that was not followed. And whether they elect to call 911 or whether they elect to call 8600, there's just a few seconds difference. But obviously they need to call our communication center, where any of you would call if you had some sort of emergency. And it was probably well-intended but misguided for this particular person to be out trying to find those individuals on his own. So we should have been there from the beginning. And like I said earlier, you know, given the physical location, you got a river and you got an interstate, so it'd be very easy to secure that perimeter. You know, had we been notified, had this police department been notified, and not only the juvenile task force, but you know, the patrol officers could have set up that perimeter, and then we could have conducted a detailed search of that area. But time is very precious in those situations, and 30 minutes, you know, a fast walk, you can be 2 miles away. So that opportunity was lost.
This contracted company has already said that they've put some folks on administrative leave because of this. But what concerns do you have, sort of bigger picture, in this company's ability to keep the public safe, even among some of their other employees that were not directly impacted by this escape, but may have similar ambiguities about, you know, what number to call or other policy things like that going forward?
Well, that's the whole reason for my concern and my whole reason for the call to Judge Callaway, because I wanted to give her information that she could operate on in the future. And what I saw in their report appeared to be just a pattern of maybe nonchalant behavior in that we had individuals out after the 9 o'clock time they're supposed to be secured. Why it was some sort of emergency to have this cleanup, why they were selected, why they were left unattended, why that they were able to make their way through the facility with the assistance. Perhaps an innocent assistance, but the person in control of the elevator followed their commands and lowered them to the unsecured floor where they left out the front door.
Do you know where the other guy got called away to clean up something? What do you mean? What was he called away to do? I thought he was called away for a disturbance.
That's correct. The 4 escapees were on a cleanup detail. So they had been taken to a particular area to do cleanup. Like I say, why that was important at that late hour, I don't know. Why they were selected, I don't know. But the person watching them was called away to another situation in another part of the building, and they were left unattended.
To your knowledge,
personnel for intake, when we bring people over and so forth. So those would be available, and I'm assuming that that they are Metro employees, but I don't know that.
do you believe any of the teens were working with staff members to escape?
I don't have any indication of that.
So, I guess when I first heard about this, I thought maybe it was like a perfect storm of flukes, of accidents, but it sounds like what you're describing is a potential pattern of nonchalance, as you said, that maybe made this.
Yeah, I think my first thought about it was that perfect storm, that everything just fit together. But in looking at their own internal report, I just saw a pattern of people not paying attention to what they should be doing. And so that's the reason that I called for the review. Again, I'm not seeing any criminal matter at this point. I mean, that could be brought up at a later date, I suppose. But I wanted to make sure that we know, that the public knows, and that most of all Judge Callaway knows, so that she can take precautions in the future and make sure that the terms of the contract are followed.
To your knowledge, is there surveillance cameras all throughout the detention center, and have you all pulled that surveillance footage?
We are having everything that's available, and I do know about one outside. I do not know what they have inside in terms of surveillance cameras.
What's your reaction as police chief? You're in charge of an agency that is employing people whose job it is to work round the clock to make sure juvenile offenders are off the streets. As police chief, what's your reaction to what you've concluded as pretty
And I think most everybody in this room would have made a call immediately. And again, we would have a much better opportunity to apprehend them before they're out in the public.
Why do you think they didn't call you all right away? Do you think there was some concern that, oh, I might get in trouble, or there might be repercussions, or their job might be something like that?
Just be speculation on my part. Maybe that we can get things back in check before anybody knows. That's just speculation on my part.
I guess my thing I'm kind of getting from this is that a lot of what goes on inside the Juvenile Justice Center is entrusted to this outside contractor. Moving forward, how do you see the relationship between you all, the department, and the Juvenile Justice Center in terms of how you make sure that your contracts are being followed with a contractor like this?
Well, hopefully our investigation will give information to Judge Callaway so she can make those decisions. But keeping in mind, that those are her decisions to make, and I know that she wants a secure facility for the safety of the public and for the safety of the people inside that facility. So that will be our role.
Someone has told me that this outside contractor does not use handcuffs at all in the facility. I don't know if you even know. Do you know?
I don't have any information on that.
Has the investigation started yet?
I'm sorry?
Has it started yet? And then what will it entail? Are you
The investigation?
Yeah.
About 10 o'clock this morning.
and are you interviewing staffers? What does that look like?
I'm going to leave that to the persons in charge of the investigation, but certainly their first step will be to talk with Kathy Sinbeck at the juvenile facility, and she works directly for Judge Callaway, and she will ensure that they have access to everything they need.
Apologies if this has already been asked. How long has this contractor been over the facility?
I do not know.
So we've had a few instances in the last year or two of youths escaping custody from different agencies. Can you maybe contextualize for people how significant this escape is and why?
Well, I think they're all significant, and keep in mind, anytime you have someone escape, that their mindset is different, their emotions are different, and people might do things they ordinarily would not do. So we treat all of them as very serious. Obviously, with the charges that in the past history of these individuals, it makes it even more serious.
We're talking about the possible danger to the community, but these are teenagers here, they're pretty young. Are you worried about their safety? Do you have any idea what's going on in their heads right now?
Well, that's the point right there. I think we all know that until we're 25 or so, we don't necessarily make the best decisions. And when you are an escapee and when you doing what you need to do, you think, to keep from being apprehended, yes. And so they're probably not making the best decisions at this point.
Kind of to that a little bit. Have you had any calls for crimes that have been committed in even the last day, where you think that you thought, hey, maybe one of these teenagers might be behind this, like a car wreck or something like that?
I'm not aware, but I'll let these gentlemen speak to that. The first thing we did was check to see were there any carjackings that night, and there were not. There were not. So that's the first thing that we thought of, and then starting to go through the list of all the stolen cars from that date, from that time forward. So our investigators are checking on that. We've not found anything at this point that would indicate that.
One more question. As far as just walking out the front door, were there alarms that were bypassed, or are those just unsecured doors?
I do not know, but I'm assuming they were unsecured, and I don't. If there was an alarm sounded, there's nothing about it in the report.